Moving on to the next team, a team that I thought I would be banning for a while, and now they're like one of my more favorite watches in the entire NFL. That is the Indianapolis Colts, who are at 2-0, and actually probably have the best vibes, maybe in the NFL, but for sure in the AFC South. So, first time since 2009 that the Colts have been 2-0. Wow, that's a great stat. All right, Matt, are you buying or selling the Indianapolis Colts?
Shoot, it's like I think the first time since then that they've even just won their opener. They've had a horrible run in week one, and I was definitely like, okay, I don't know if I'm totally buying what I saw in week one, but I think after seeing week two, I'm willing to kind of tepidly buy this. I don't know if I want to pay full dollar amount, but I am willing to tepidly buy it because can I get it at a little bit of a markdown here? Can I buy? I'm not buying the dip necessarily. I am you have to be buying it high right now, but I do wish I don't know. I wish I had bought the dip on the Colts this offseason just because I'm never on the right side of history with these quarterback reclamation projects. And it's just tough. And honestly, it's really caused me to think big picture about the quarterback position, which is probably not a conversation to have on this show, obviously, as we got a lot to get through here. But man, I mean, it's honestly just, it doesn't really have much to do with Daniel Jones, to be quite honest here. And I'm not saying that to take away anything from Daniel Jones, because I think he is simply out there. I've said this to you, I think he's doing the Minshew minimum plus a little bit extra in this offense. And when you can do that, the thing about the Minshew minimum joke in 2023 is they had rookie year Josh Downs. They did have a little bit more established offensive linemen, but they didn't have quite the weaponry that they do around Daniel Jones right now. And my God, you can really just feel it. I think the stat of the best stat from Sunday was from NFL Pro. Daniel Jones was blitzed on a career high 71.1% of his dropbacks, and he went 16 of 25 for 265 yards and a touchdown. That is the fourth most passing yards against the blitz in any game since 2016. And that's against a defense that we all had as a consensus top 3 unit. And that is one showing, I think, a quarterback who is very comfortable in his environment, behind an offensive line that I think has played well through 2 weeks. Not perfect, but I think has played well through 2 weeks. And just there's always an answer. This is definitely a moment where the coordinator's a play caller, Shane Steichen, says, buddy, there's an answer on every single play. Just trust me and get to it. And that is what it felt like against Denver on Sunday. One thing's taken away, find another guy. And there's just so many different, options here. Jonathan Taylor is looking 2021, but maybe even better version of Jonathan Taylor. So this offensively, I'm buying the structure and all of these weapons being activated. And then defensively, like I said in week one, it probably wasn't quite as impressive in week two, just because they did have some injuries at cornerback. But I think the defense can be solidly, maybe a league average unit. So I don't know. Yeah. Nate, I'm sure we're all willing for we're all waiting for the Daniel Jones trap door effect here, but based on what we've seen through 2 weeks, there's not a lot of BS in what we've seen through 2 weeks. It can fall apart, but there's not a lot of BS fakey stuff through 2 weeks, which I think you maybe could have said about the Dolphins win because it's the Dolphins, but that was an impressive game in week 2 from them.
No, it was. I mean, like you said, against the Broncos defense that I consider still a really good defense, and they had a lot of answers for him. I'm buying as well. I actually am, because I think it's a wide open division right now. They also play the Titans next week, so I don't think that's going to push back at all. That they don't think the bad feelings, but after that, I believe they play the Rams, which should be a really fun matchup. But I think that this formula works. Daniel just got to keep the train on the rails. Statistically, of course, it's 2 game sample size, but it's the best offense in the league. But right now, this offense is built around the run game. And right now they have almost a 51% rushing success rate. Again, 40% is a good or better. 50% is kind of an all-time mark. And that's best in the NFL. They're currently averaging 5.1 yards to go on third down. And that's why Daniel Jones can keep it on the rails. You see some of his bad plays happen on third and longs. and maybe in the red zone where he has to truly drop back and pass. But they've only had 8 third and longs total. That's 70 yards or more this entire season. For reference, the Titans have 15 already. The Bears, I just mentioned.
I was going to say, what Bears?
The Colts,
give me Bears and Texans. Give me Bears and Texans on this one.
The Colts are averaging 5.1 yards to go. The Bears are averaging 10.6 yards to go on third so far this season. So I had that one looked up because it feels that way. Like, it just feels like they have to get into hero mode, or like when we talk about the Titans, that's what it always feels like too. And man, the run game, I mentioned that the efficiency's there, but they're mixing up the calls. You mentioned the Minshew minimum, and during that year, how many RPOs did they run? It was like run RPO, run RPO, run RPO. It was like every play. And this year, I thought it was kind of nice. It was a nice little design tweak. It's nothing crazy, but some of them are RPOs, and then some they just have the receivers straight block. And I know that doesn't sound crazy, but not a lot of teams do that like as much as they should, where they mix it up. Like sometimes we run a bubble, sometimes we're running slants because it's an RPO. Sometimes we have outs. Actually, this time we're just blocking. And that actually leads to better run plays. You just have to commit to it, especially when you have. This is kind of like what I got excited about with this Colts receiving room last year. And this, I think you and I joked about this. It's like I'm kind of excited about like their potential bully ballness at receiver, like because they have like 3 guys that could be a power slot on top of Downs, who's actually a really good receiving slot. So like those guys can actually like block for each other and block in the run game, and you feel it. Jonathan Taylor too hit the fastest mark, the fastest miles per hour, I think, in max miles per hour in Next Gen Stats history on Sunday. He had the wheel route where he's running away from Patrick Surtain. But they have a formula that works. They can run the ball. They can get enough explosives through the air off play action. Some really cool designs of Tyler Warren. And then the defense just looks solid. Like they hold up against the run. They're burly. Cam Bynum, you mentioned him this all offseason, or at least when we talked about Colts and all that. Looks great on top of the celebrations with Blue, the mascot, which looks amazing. As long as Xavier Howard doesn't have to get targeted, they can hold up on defense. Do you have any guesses what his success rate allowed is so far? Like, so what offense's passing success rate when he's targeted?
It's got to be. I just watched the Broncos passing game recently. It's got to be pretty high. It's like, I'll say 78%.
Okay, it's 64%. Which is still absurd.
I went too crazy.
That's that's crazy. We've been freaking out about some performances. So yeah, it's basically what Jared Goff did on Sunday against the Bears defense. That's what he's allowing, cool. just as a corner. Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah. Allowing over 8 yards per target, and he's been penalized like every other play. So like that's one thing that's standing out to me. Yeah. But guess what? Not a lot of teams in the AFC South could take advantage of that. So I'm buying the Colts. Moving on to another C team, CCC, cool, calm, and collected. This is the Cardinals. One of my preseason talking points that I wouldn't shut up about. And we got to continue the streak right here. They pulled out another victory. They were swamping the Panthers on Sunday, and they kind of let them back. Every single one of their corners got hurt. Literally, every single one of their corners got hurt, which is worrisome. But they pulled out the victory. Are you buying or selling the 2-0 Cardinals, Matt Harmon?
Yeah, I'm going to sell this one. It's like a 2-0 team. I think. Oh, wow.
Perfect.
We did not know what these sounds were going to be before we got into the show. So I love that. But that is how I feel sometimes watching the Cardinals. Like right when you get excited about them, there is something to give that sound. I think the defense is actually, before injuries did start to pop up late in that game against the Panthers, I think the defense has stood out, and it just, obviously you wish that some of these guys were going to be healthy, because I do think that this, like I said, this defense has impressed me over the course of the first 2 weeks. The offense, though, I just can't get on board with the offense. Trey Benson's had some interesting moments. I think he's maybe, it's funny, like we always do this in the offseason when teams say like, oh, this guy's going to have a breakout season. We like interpret that in our terms of like what breakout means, especially like in the fantasy sense, like, well, Trey Benson can't break out James Conner, but I think he's like broken out in terms of being like a useful piece for them. And to the team, I bet that is like to them a breakout. But We could talk about it. I'm not on board with the offense. I'm not on board with the Kyler Murray experience. And I don't know that I'm ever going to. It's just way too up and down. It's way too up and down for me. And I just think he leaves way too much meat on the bone in terms of, and I mean, especially in week one, like just the lack of ability and lack of like willingness to pull the trigger on over the middle, like intermediate passes that are there. Like I'm sure we're going to have the Marvin Harrison conversation from what it was in week two, but in week one, like I realize that he left plays on the field in week two, and there's no question like these are still things he's got to clean up. But like Kyler Murray is leaving chunk gains on the field every single week that are open, that are like, he's not like a sacrificial X receiver. Like the usage is not that way. Like he's not running all these go routes anymore, especially not in week one. I think they kind of sacrificed him a little bit to JC Horn on the outside in this pass game for Carolina, which is fine. He's like the one guy you probably don't want to target. And then obviously Trey McBride was always going to smoke those interior defenders for Carolina because the linebackers, and it might be the worst like linebacker room in the NFL. So I get it. Like you're going to want to pummel Trey McBride with targets there. But in week one, I'm telling you, like just so many plays left on the field that the quarterback just doesn't let it rip. And I just think we're 7 years into his career at this point. Like that's probably not coming. That's probably not happening at this stage.
This is, I'm okay. So I am buying because I can't get rid of this take yet.
Of course.
The Cardinals. So this is I'll just get that out of the way. But this is a heart versus head kind of thing going on right now because I totally agree with you. I think this is just what it is. There's going to be frustrating moments with this offense. I think there's still a relatively high floor, but like Kyler right now, just him, 10th in EPA per dropback, 14th in success rate. That's him. I don't think he could ever be 12th, 14th better than that because he's just not efficient enough. So it all comes down to their run game. And right now that just kind of doesn't look all that. Like that looks inconsistent to me, but they're going to commit to it. Like they're going to do that all the time. And I know certain guys were out. I think Tip Ryman was out. They're one of their blocking tight ends. But like, that hinders some of it and where some of my excitement comes. It's funny because some of the usage of Marvin Harrison Jr. leads me to some optimism down the road. I know here on the YouTube show, they pulled up that tweet that showed the comparison of targets between Neighbors and Harrison. Gotta stop doing that because the Giants offense doesn't you can't apply that apples to apples to what the Cardinals are going through. Cardinals play close games because they're winning. Giants are playing in circus carnival games because they're bad. Like big differences of games, big differences of offensive styles, all that. So I'll just talk about Harrison Jr. right now. More crossers, more in breakers, more over routes, more stuff that I do want to see. His top three routes right now are crosser, defined by an extra stats and PFF, but overs count as crossers. That's his number one route. Yes, that's exactly what I want to see. Still got the goes because he's an X, but then his third most run route is the ins. It's okay. All right. 35% of his routes are from the slot now. Last year was 27%. And he got a couple targets, got a couple catches from there. So it's like, okay, that's what I want to see. Most of his catches, most of his targets have been between the seams. 55% of his targets so far, according to Next Gen Stats, are between the seams. All stuff that's encouraging. And you see Trey McBride still killing it. Michael Wilson, of course, had a great statistical day and opened up stuff. It's really the run game is really the one that's just like kind of hindering me from like really being like, yeah, I told you guys so. Because I just thought that maybe it would have a little bit more efficiency to it. But I think, Kyler, I've kind of like made my bed with the take or made my bed with my opinion on him. I don't know if made my bed's right or I'm just set with my opinion with him. Like, all right, this is it.
It is what it is.
This is it. This is it with him. It's going to be frustrating. You just have to have the other surroundings to help that out so it doesn't feel as frustrating. So I'm with you. The defense looks a lot better. But Max Melton's hurt, who looked great in week one. Garrett Williams is hurt. Will Johnson, who looks like a defensive rookie of the year candidate through a week and a half, is also hurt. He also has injury history. That's a little scary for me, because it's like that's part of the strength of their defense is that kind of like what they can do and the variable, all the variety that they can do on the back end. Pass rush wise, they've had 60% pressure rate when they blitz. They blitzed 16 times and they got 9 pressures. I think that's awesome. League average is about 45. Seahawks lead the league at 70% on blitzes, by the way. And then when they don't blitz, it's league average, 28%, league average 30%. So that's way big improvement, because last year I want to say that number was around 20%. And that's with, some other guy, Walter Nolan's hurt still. The Seahawks lead the league, by the way, in 4-man when they don't blitz at 46%. So it's pretty, newsflash, Seahawks defense is really good. So not a team we're going to be talking about today, but yeah, their defense is really good. I'm still buying the Cardinals. It's just I can't get away. But what have you thought about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s usage, or just maybe just the passing game? Like, just one additional thought on that.
Yeah, I would say just also real quick, like, the reason I might be kind of hesitant to buy the Cardinals is because I don't think we're talking about any of these other teams today, but I am kind of buying like all of the other teams in this division. So
correct,
like process of elimination. Like I'm buying the 1-1 Seahawks. I think I like what I've seen there. I'm buying the 2-0. I'm really buying the 2-0 Rams. As long as we keep the immortal chamber parked in the garage, I'm definitely buying that. And like 49ers, I think. Like Mac Jones is going to keep them afloat and they'll be fine. I think I'm still willing, even though I'm a little more nervous because of the injuries. But still, yeah, I do think I'm overall buying. Marvin Harrison Jr. usage, like, yeah, I noted this. I'm doing like weekly notebooks on reception perception, and I noted that like again, this is just week 1. But like go route rate is down slightly. Slant route rate, dig route rate. The digs were already like the main route that he ran last year, digs, crossers, stuff like that, but he's run a lot more like the shallow crossers, slants. Those are way up, almost doubled from what I charted in his rookie season. The post routes are those kind of bigger over routes are up from 7.1% to 11.8%. So it's just like we got the usage change that we wanted. He's never going to become like CeeDee Lamb full slot receiver, but he's definitely moving around the formation more. So like, again, it just, the problem is I just don't think Kyler's ever gonna, like, that's just not the wide receiver that fits with him. Like, it's just not, like, which is just kind of it's just a weird situation where I don't think Kyler's like a bad quarterback. I think he's just a bad fit for the guy that they took 4th overall. Like, he's definitely Kyler's a limited quarterback, and like Harrison probably isn't the exact player that they thought they were taking 4th overall, but like the guy he's been in the NFL, the way he's used best, I actually think fit, like, for all the complaints about Petzing, I think fits well as the X receiver in this offense, which wants you to run routes over the middle of the field, especially win against zone coverage and pick up chunk plays there, and those plays are available. The quarterback is just not gonna rip it on those because he hasn't at any point in his career. I mean, especially in week 1, there's a lot of like, it sounds mean, but like goofing around in the pocket, moving around, moving off your spot unnecessarily. And like, again, that's just who Kyler Murray is. So it's just kind of a little bit of an oil and water fit. That being said, if we're going to call balls and strikes here, like, Harrison's probably got to win that one. Could have been better placed, maybe contested target in the end zone. He's got to win that. He can't just clank it off the out route in week 2 against the Panthers. So I'm not saying he's completely blameless here and like, oh, look at this poor little boy wasting away in Arizona. I'm not saying that at all, but I think there's ways to access this guy's ceiling. Yeah, and with these two players together, I think unfortunately there is a cap to it that really isn't like the fault of. Again, it's not like I'm not trying to like assign blame here. It just is what it is.
We usually say some of its parts in a positive way. It's a sum of its parts in a negative way. Like they're lesser together than they would be separate, and that's why I think I struggle with it, because it's like there's nothing that's bad. It's just that I think there's a cap to all this. Even they're just their offensive system, their offensive flow, and I think that's why I think there's a disconnect with maybe some fancy opinions and some kind of like how I feel about it is that this is going to be a low usage offense. This is by design. This is just what they do. It's very methodical, but sometimes when it's not rolling, like the run game isn't, that's going to lead to a lot of frustration because that is the system. So, and also, Marvin Harrison Jr. got the DPI at the start of the game against the Panthers. So too, like that's got to get in there. What you mentioned about the division is very true. Just like my little aside about the Rams, full buy. I know they played the Titans, but that offense is crushing, and this is a great test they have. Oh my God. It looks awesome. They can do whatever they want. They got explosive runs now, which is like the one weakness of this offense. Yeah. And they're getting explosive runs now. This Devontae looks great. Puka looks great. Jordan Whittington's a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm all in. They're using more tight ends. And then great test for them this week against the Eagles. They sacked Hurts 7 times in the playoffs when they played last year. So that can really make me feel a lot better now that they play maybe a little bit of more complete team than the Texans so far, and especially the Titans so far this year.